Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Blanca Espinosa, co-founder and CMO at Alima. How are you doing today, Blanca?
Hi, Ernesto. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, great. We're talking a little bit about what Alima was, and I'm excited. You're changing something that was old into something that is new. So let's give tell me a little bit more about Alima so that our listeners could get a good understanding.
Sure. Well, Alima is a solution for suppliers and distributors of food service. Basically, what we do is we try to digitize their uh, businesses, basically. Historically, these type of companies don't really rely on technology to scale and grow. And in the previous business model that we built at Alima, we actually grew pretty fast as a supplier ourselves by building the company with technology as our core is the tech. So it's basically what we now basically are trying to commercialize and sell through membership and a SaaS solution to our new customers who are, as I said, suppliers and distributors in the food service and hospitality industry. So that's basically what we are trying to solve now.
That's awesome to hear. And so that way then our listeners could get a good understanding of your company. What would you say is that key problem that you're solving right now then for your clients?
Yeah, basically, besides the lack of, technology and the very few digital reports and use that the suppliers have, they also spend a lot of time on generating invoicings, on collecting the payments from their clients. Let's think like their clients are restaurants or hotels or I don't know, schools. So the recurrency of their orders is almost daily because we are specialized on perishable goods. So these restaurants or these businesses basically order every day fruits, vegetables, meats, fish, and all these supplies. So it's very, very high, the amount and the volume they have to process in terms of order management and all the invoices and all the collection. And sometimes they are not able to, keep up with the pace. And they start getting late payments. And so basically what we're trying to do, beyond giving them technology for creating orders, it's also giving them, for instance, automatic invoicing system, reconciliation payment solution, plus an e-commerce. I'm not sure that I mentioned it at the beginning, but some of the suppliers have the very, old-fashioned way to sell, which is in person with representative salespeople. However, after the pandemic in Mexico and in LATAM, the behavior of procurement teams in the different industries is more towards buying online, right? So also by providing them this e-commerce, white label e-commerce, they are able to open a new sales channel. So basically, most like 100% of the suppliers and distributors in food service, they have one of two problems. One, they want to sell more, or the other one, they want to be more efficient. So that's basically the two problems that we try to focus on.
Definitely, that's important. And so then is it fair to say then your vertical or your ideal ICP for you then is restaurants and providers that are selling the fruits and vegetables?
Yeah, the ICP is suppliers and distributors, but that are already delivering to restaurants and food service industry businesses. Here in LATAM, the food service industry is really fragmented. There is a lot of players, so there is no standardization. So unless you sell CPGs, for instance, products that are more standardized, the market is it's really disorganized. So these are the type of customers that we want to acquire and that we want to rely and leverage on our technology so they can be more organized, have reports, have data, tag all this data, build reports, understand how their sellers are doing, understand how how their business is doing, and we're able to give them all these data and analysis and all these personalized reports through the platform, so they can increase the quality of their decisions as decision makers, right? Because normally they don't have any type of technology. It's very pen and paper, or just the basic things like Excel sheets all over the place. But this is way more standardized and organized.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. Awesome to hear that. And so that way, the listeners who are tuned in could go ahead and visit you. You could always check them out at alima.la. What role then does the website play for client acquisition, Blanca?
Well, I would love the role is way more important than the actual role it has in terms of acquisition. It's more for, brand awareness at this point. Probably less than 10% of our clients actually come from the landing page. And the reason of this, we think, is because the industry that we're trying to acquire is relying more on personal relationships for acquiring like a technology solution like the one we sell. Even though we do a lot of prospection and we try to use automated tools to do digital prospection, at the end, always demonstration helps more because you're engaging with the person. We use a lot also other techniques in acquisition and prospection, like going to expos. There's a lot of fairs, expos, and in-person events that we have to attend to. But if there was a way that we can use our landing page more to acquire, would be super helpful and would help us to, scale the acquisition engine. Because at this point, we use a lot WhatsApp, we use a lot email. For more enterprise companies, email has to be like a formal communication channel, like corporate communication channel. For smaller business, WhatsApp is super effective. There's a lot of Facebook groups that people is using, and all these groups are very good for us to generate leads. So yeah, in this point, the landing page is more like the way we show what we do and the way we always refer people once they probably heard before about us.
Definitely, that's important. And on that note, on the website, then, is there any tools or tips or methods that you would recommend to our listeners as far as some website lead generation?
Yeah, I think what helped us to increase probably from 5% to these 10% that I'm saying, like the few things that I've noticed is be super clear and try to simplify your value proposition in the hero image or in the hero header. So the customer in a first sight can actually understand what you do. For us as founders and business owners, sometimes, you are in the day-to-day, you super digest what you do, but it's not as transparent for our customers. So the easier for them to understand and in the language you use is, more simple, I would say, is the better. Also, if we can show testimonials or clients that we were able to tackle, for instance, when we were a supplier ourselves, we worked with big chains in Mexico. So always to put the name on those chains in your landing page, it's gonna give you certain, to seem more reliable. Your credentials are better. Also, I don't know, if you're a startup and your customers understand very well also the startup world, and you were part of a batch in accelerators like YC or Techstars or 500 or this type of companies, and you in the bragging bar also mention those type of things, probably are making the customer feeling more appeal to your company, because they can increase their trust. So probably those type of things. I don't know, visually also has to be something that attracts the people, not full of text. Images have to be clean. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this field, but yeah, some of the tips that our design team, when we were creating the landing page and the previous one, gave to us were these, and hopefully they helped.
Yep, that's important. And well, let's switch gears then a little bit, Blanca, and let's talk about you as a leader. You being the co-founder and CMO there for Alima, what are some key tasks that you'd like to focus on your day-to-day work?
Yeah, well, basically, in this point that we are after a pivot, we're trying to understand what's the fastest way to not only acquire, but also close the cycle of onboarding. What we do requires not only a sign up, but also an onboarding from the client, because we need to upload catalogs, upload images, train them on how the invoicing, even though it's automatic, works so they can understand it. So this onboarding depends very much on the time and availability of our customers, but sometimes could take up to, I don't know, 1 week to 3 weeks. So I think the main thing I'm trying to solve every day is how we can increase all the speed in all the steps of the funnel, from acquisition to onboarding, and how we can retain the clients. We're just probably 3-4 months away from our recent pivot, so it's very recent. But at this point, we don't see high churn rates in this moment. However, we have noticed that for certain profile of clients, probably the solution we have is not that attractive. So what we need to understand is how we segregate all those ICPs, all those profiles, so we can only look after the actual ICP, that is the one that it's retaining, and not waste our time in trying to acquire all those profiles that at the end won't stay with us. That's also part of my day-to-day job, basically.
Definitely. It sounds like you have a full plate on your hands. I mean, being part of co-founder and CMO, I mean, you have a lot on your plate, but you're able to balance it. So kudos to you for being able to do that. So awesome. And so on that note, so then how do you usually stay up to date with all the news trending into the marketing world? Is there a specific channel that you like to go through?
Well, I think there's a lot of content going on, a lot of content for startups and founders, but specifically for marketing, I think I read only 2 that I like or that I try to follow. The first one is the Growth Hackers newsletter. Sometimes they have special webinars with founders, CMOs, and so they are always giving you new ideas or insights on how to improve growth techniques. At this point in my company, we're not actually implementing growth because we are getting traction after the new business model, and that's important. However, I can prepare for when the growth stage comes and have more ideas and have more context on what works, what doesn't. So I like to keep reading and keep, as you said, updated on what's out there. AI is also playing a big role. So here you listen all type of AI tools and things. So you can, as marketer, implement and be more efficient in your day-to-day work. Also, we were part of YC. So the YC community, I think, is very open and very sharing on what they have done that works in terms of sales and acquisition and marketing. And there's this forum. So I try to read when there's a subject related to sales or to marketing or to growth that I feel interested. So I think those 2 are great sources to me to keep updated. Probably I'm forgetting some others, but yeah. And always also helps a lot talking to other founders, because at the end, probably they already went through what you are going through right now, and they can give you some great piece of advices. So yeah, also trying to keep contact with other founders that are in your same either industry or space is great.
Great. So let's jump into our next section here, Blanca, which is our rapid fire question rounds. Are you ready for them?
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. First off, what is the last book that you read?
Well, I think it was Without a Doubt from Surbi Sarna. She's a YC partner. She was actually our partner in the time we went. It's very inspirational as a founder and a mother. She said something that resonates me. Being a mom founder, it's a constant struggle. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. I mean, she sold her company for 275 million, something like that. So it's always a piece of inspiration, and her book basically narrates all her journey, and it was very inspirational. So yeah, I try to read sometimes here some books, because you don't have that much time to reading when you are running the company plus having kids. Trying to be a good partner, like balance the work life. It's really difficult, but yeah, I try to at least keep reading or listening from other women or people that I admire.
That's important. Great, great read there. Next up is, if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
Well, I think, as I said before, finding your ICP, it could pain in the ass. So if there was, I don't know, a way for us as marketeers, like in early stage, to find faster, more accurately your ICP would be great, because sometimes you spend a lot of time engaging, interviewing, talking to user that it's probably not your early adopter, or is not someone that's gonna be your ICP at the end. So some intelligence, I don't know how to say, around that, maybe already exists, I don't know, but to me would have helped a lot, because this is something that as marketeers in startups in early stage, we put a lot of time and effort. And I think the worst outcome is when, after you worked a lot on this type of customer that you thought it was your target and your main audience, and you develop technology based on that, and you did product based on that, and then you realize it was the wrong one, and you need to try kind of roll back or rebuild. Could be complicated. Hopefully we are not that bad. I think we're close enough the customer that we need to sell, and we're actually finding new opportunities. But yeah, I think something around that would be great. And also, probably I'm not doing this, but in my previous life, let's say, I work for big companies, for tech companies, and I always remember that measuring accurately advertising, like billboards, TV ads, and all these type of things, are always very subjective. And it's like all these brand health trackers, these brand awareness metrics, but at the end, you don't really know how effective, I think, from my perspective, how effective and accurate are those, expenses versus the return in the business.
I would totally agree with you on that note, right? I mean, they're great, but if you don't know if they're producing, if they're turning, what's going on, right? I mean, for a marketer, it's very important. So definitely would agree with you. And well, lastly, Blanca, do you want to have take your note on this? I mean, you have a lot of experience, like you mentioned, you big work in big companies like Coca-Cola, Amazon, Uber. But what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
I think precisely, don't try to replicate what worked previously in a new company. Even if it's a startup, even if it's not a startup, like my worst mistakes have been trying to replicate something that previously worked in a, let's say, another role, in another position with another team, because at the end, all the context is different. That doesn't mean that your experience is not valuable and that, the expertise you have as a marketer or growth. At the end, concepts are the same. Conceptually, you can understand what's going on, but you always need to have into account that people is different, and the context and the customer may be reacting differently to what worked before because it was a different ICP. So not necessarily everything works well. And also the stages in the company. Probably this is very basic, but it happened to me. When I was starting with building company as a founder in an early stage, 2021, I came from working at Uber, where I was, working in a post product market fit company with, obviously taking care of the money, but with budgets to, deploy certain things. We were doing growth. We were actually scaling. My position was growth at scale, actually. But then I realized that at Alima, that was impossible to work to actually have the same results. So you have to, bring other type of things when you are founding and when you are starting from the ground up. And then after post market fit, then you start scaling again and bringing all those growth and big marketing techniques. That would be my main learning, I think.
Awesome to hear that. And well, Blanca, we are coming to the end of the show here. But before we do end, I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about Alima?
I think the thing they should remember is that we try to simplify the life of their business we are trying to tackle, that are suppliers and distributors. So make your life easy.
Definitely important. Hey, well, Blanca, thank you so much for being on with us. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm looking forward to our next episode at Path Monk Presents. Thanks a lot, Blanca.
Thank you very much, Ernesto.